One thing that I get asked every time I tell someone that I'm a homesteader is, how is that even possible? You work a full-time job and have 2 kids. Well, I'm here to tell you it is possible. I waited for years before I started homesteading because I had all those excuses, no time, no experience. But it doesn't matter because you have to start somewhere and you learn along the way. Today, I am going to be inspiring, giving hope, and helping guide those of you who do work a full-time job or something else, but for whatever reason, think you don't have time to homestead, but you really would like to. Today, I'm talking mindset, resources, how to homestead with your busy schedule, micro homesteading as an option, how to set achievable homestead goals, and how to create a schedule to make your homestead work for your busy schedule. Welcome, aspiring homesteaders. I am thrilled to have you join me for another episode here on my Informal Farmer channel. This is the go-to place for people who work full-time and still want to try homesteading or already have a homestead. If you're new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button and tap that notification bell so that you get notified for all the new videos coming out. First, I want to talk about mindset, because my mindset, my feelings and thoughts about homesteading when I didn't homestead was the number one thing holding me back from homesteading. And that might be the same for you. So I used to think I didn't have time or energy or experience or resources for homesteading. And it was pushing it off and pushing it off. But when I made the switch and started realizing and putting my focus on all the value that was going to come out of the homesteading was when it shifted to, I could do this. I want to do this so bad, I have to get started. I had to shift from thinking it was some overwhelming, daunting task to looking at it more as the rewarding journey that it truly is. Everyone's going to have a different reason for wanting to start a homestead. For me, it was about wanting to have quality, healthy food to not only feed myself, but my family, and share with our neighbors, friends, and family, other people that we love. And I'm always up for a good exploration or journey. I like to learn new skills. So getting into the homesteading world opened up a whole new college of lessons to be learned, experiences to be had, more tools for my toolkit. I went from thinking I would never know how to milk a cow or have the confidence to do it, or raise chickens, or butcher a chicken, raise pigs, grow my own fruits and vegetables. And now I do it on a regular basis and I love it and I can't imagine my life without it. Some people may choose to start homesteading for sustainability of the environment, lowering your carbon footprint, and of course, the food that you grow and process yourself not only nourishes your body when you put it in your body, but you're also taking care of your body, building strong bones and muscles by getting in the land and working the land. Furthermore, it helps your mental state because you're out in nature, you're relaxing, you're breathing better air. Next, I want to talk about resources, because after you get your mind in the right frame of mind and you start believing it's possible, the next step is to consider your resources. Not only what time do you have, but what space do you have to give to this new adventure? First, I'd say the most important thing to assess is your time. And don't go crazy here. Don't start with huge goals. Start small, right? If you just have a little bit of time, I'll show you how to find those tasks, those small tasks that take just a little bit of time every day, and that will help get your feet wet and help you build the courage and confidence to start taking on bigger tasks. You also need to determine how much space you have. I'm on a little over an acre of land, which is way more than anyone needs to homestead. People can even start homesteading in an apartment. And also, you need to consider your finances, right? If you're starting small, you could start with a very small budget, then you can move up from there. I have a ton more details about resources. I created a free guide, so stay tuned to the end and I'll share with you how to get that guide, and it will get delivered right to your email box that you can work with to determine everything you need to figure out about your resources. Topic number 3, we're going to talk about how you can get some quick wins in your busy schedule, no matter how small you're starting. So for my husband and I, he really wanted a salsa garden, which could be a great place to start. That requires growing your own tomatoes, onions, cilantro, and maybe some peppers, which typically a lot of those are pretty easy to grow. So if you want to set that as your goal, it just takes a small garden bed, maybe 2 tomato plants, a couple of onions, your cilantro, and a pepper plant. Super simple. You can also go the route of an herb garden, right? Because you can have fresh herbs. You can add it to anything, any meal, anytime. You can have fresh herbs. The way that fresh herbs change the flavor of a meal can really provide some inspiration to keep going and trying new things in the garden. You would love that. Something else you could try is maybe you already have a small garden. Have you tried composting yet? Because composting and making your own nutrients for your garden can be very rewarding. And you don't have to have animals to start composting. You can start with some dried leaves. And if you don't have dried leaves on your property, you can go to a public park and get some dried leaves, no problem. And so I've got a video about composting. I'll link for that here as well. Or maybe you're a little more advanced or not into gardening, no problem. Maybe you can try a small chicken coop. In most residential areas, you can still have a chicken or two, not a rooster, but look into the guidelines for your area and see if chickens are in your future. One of my favorite quick wins is growing strawberries. And I've got a strawberry video, I'll link to that as well. But this is just a fun one for my family. Everyone loves them. Strawberries are super hardy, not only the plants, but they are just easy to grow. The berries are delicious. And in Southern California, they can grow practically year-round. Topic 4 today is micro homesteading, which is typically what's going to be the solution for most of you watching today. Micro homesteading is homesteading on a small amount of space, whether it be 5 acres, an acre, half acre, or a tiny backyard. There's ways to fit homesteading into wherever you are. So if you have a tiny space, a small garden might be where you start until you have time, energy, or money to get something bigger or borrow a friend's piece of property. Here, like I said, we're on an acre and it is so much more land than we actually need to homestead. I've got a large garden on this side of the property and we've got pigs and chickens in the back. And then over on the other side of the yard, we're actually starting a much larger in-ground garden because I want to start growing some of the food for our pigs. But as you can see, our actual homesteading ventures are taking up about a quarter or less than a quarter acre of the property. For those of you in smaller areas, you might just do gardening, like I said, and in an even tinier space, you could try more vertical gardening, and that's growing your fruits and vegetables up tall, narrow areas so that you can fit more into a small space. So a fun fact is that zucchini or squash, typically people think of it growing on the ground and kind of trailing out, but you can actually stake those up in like a tomato cage and grow them more vertically, saving space. I've even seen pumpkins grown on a trellis arch where the pumpkins hang down. So there's many different strategies you can incorporate into like a tiny space micro homesteading. Something else I've seen people do is raising rabbits, because rabbits not only provide excellent compost for your garden, but they grow quickly. They're highly efficient for a small space for raising meat. Topic 5 is going to be goal setting for your homestead. So I like to use the SMART method, S-M-A-R-T, which means specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. I feel like this format is really helpful because I'm not just saying, oh, I'm going to start an herb garden. I'm going to start an herb garden in the next couple months, and I want these herbs, and it's because I want my food to taste better, and I'm going to start it by this date. So check out this example of I came up with for starting an herb garden. So your goal might be to establish an herb garden for culinary use. It's specific. Plant and cultivate an herb garden with a variety of culinary herbs such as basil, mint, and rosemary. It's measurable. Have at least 5 different types of herbs thriving within the next 3 months. Achievable. So select herbs that are well suited for the local climate and the local climate and the available space on the homestead. Relevant. Enhance the homesteading experience by incorporating fresh homegrown herbs into daily cooking. And make it time bound. Complete the herb garden setup, planting, planting, and initial growth within the next 3 months. So my current main overarching goal is to not only maintain what I've already developed, but to start this new, larger in-ground garden. And so within that, it created a lot more micro goals or smaller goals, such as digging holes for the posts and putting up a new fence. We've also decided to transfer our in-ground pond into more of a stock tank pond within the garden. And that's to lend to more of a regenerative agriculture form of homesteading, where the pond water with all the nutrients from the fish and the turtles is going to give the nutrients to the garden. And we do have an overarching goal of regenerative agriculture and trying to not bring in nutrients and fertilizers and just using what we have and generate here on the farm to feed our garden, to feed our bodies. The 6th item to discuss today is creating your schedule for your busy life, including the homestead. So that's going to be one of the most technical, challenging things to figure out. And it's where you're going to have to make a couple sacrifices. In building the schedule for your homestead with your busy life, it really does help if you have a partner, whether that's a spouse or a loved one, an older child, or a neighbor or friend. But being able to split the responsibilities with someone and pass the baton while someone takes care of the kids or cooks dinner is extremely helpful. But it's not impossible to do it without someone's help. For us, the homesteading tasks, we have simplified them and made them time efficient so that we could squeeze our homesteading chores into just 15 minutes in the morning before we go to work, and then 15 minutes if we really crunch it, and then if we want to spend more time in the garden or doing a project, it could be longer than 15 minutes every evening, depending on what we have time for that day. And then we always build in time for projects on the weekends and some of our bigger chores we get done in our weekend time. So for us, we have gardens, chickens, and pigs. And we've created efficiency around those things to make our daily responsibilities go as fast as possible. So in our gardens, we've installed automatic watering systems with timers that we can adjust based on the season. So aside from tilling the soil, adding nutrients, planting seeds, and harvesting crops, it really doesn't take any time on a daily basis to manage my gardens. For our pigs, we feed them 3 different types of feed. And so we pre-mix those so that when it comes time to feed them, it's already pre-mixed and we can do it as fast as possible. And same, chickens actually are super low maintenance. So we do feed them once a day. We let them out of the coop in the mornings. They kind of free range, get bugs and weeds during the day, and then they put themselves back away at night and we give them a scoop of feed. So you do also have to collect the eggs when you get to that point. Some samples of what our weekend tasks entail could be restocking or refeeding or refilling and mixing our pig food, picking up the pig poop and cleaning out pens. And then in the case of this, it's building fences, and we've actually started a cover crop in there, so making sure that we're watering that regularly so it can get growing. So for you, if you're just starting out and starting with that herb garden, that's as simple as having a small set of pots in a window or in a very sunny spot in your house, and just making sure those are watered regularly and trimmed and maintained. And that really takes very little time to do. So you can fit that in, trim as needed for cooking, right? But then watering once a week or whatever it needs based on your climate and the location where you have them planted. How are you feeling? Are you feeling inspired? ready to go buy those herbs and start an herb garden. Maybe go start looking at chicken coops and figure out where you're going to place that at your house. I sure hope you are. I hope you have a little bit more confidence and inspiration to get started homesteading or taking that next step on your homesteading journey. So today we talked about how to build homesteading into your busy schedule, how to track which resources you have available, such as time, space, and money. Don't forget to check out my guide. Down in the description of the video below, I'll include the link for my detailed guide on how to start homesteading when you're working a full-time job. We also discussed what are some of the tasks that you can incorporate into homesteading while working full-time, how to fit those into your busy schedule, and how to set SMART goals. So be sure to check out the resources I have below, start setting some SMART goals. And don't forget, if you start thinking about homesteading in a positive mindset, shift that mindset where it's not just a task or a daunting chore that's going to take up too much time. Think about the positive aspects it's going to bring to your life. You're going to learn new skills. You're going to be bringing fresh, healthy food into your body and home. So if you are feeling inspired, which I hope you are, or if you've been able to come up with some new ideas or goals, please share them down below and I will give some feedback, and hopefully other people in this wonderful community can give you some encouragement as well. Thank you for joining me today. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications bell.